biggest red flags to look out for on an inspection report in the Twin Cities. Here are some of the things that we've seen that one, you should either run from or one, understand what it actually means when it comes to the inspection report.
And inspections are never a pass or fail situation. It's providing clarity in each situation or each item that's maybe a red flag. It might be a red flag. What's a red flag for me might not be a red flag for Brian. So understanding that part of it when you get into an inspection. Hey, my furnace is 25 years old. Does that mean you should cancel the contract? No, not unless you don't have or can't save some money that this furnace is probably only going to last. I'm day to day with this furnace. It could go out in a week. It could go out in 6 months, but knowing and understanding that.
One of the most important things I bring to my buyers or have the conversation with them or even the inspectors to go, based on the price range and location that we are in, is this what we are expecting to see the next house we get under contract with? That is the most important thing. It all depends on the location. The problems that maybe we have in Minnesota are probably completely different than the problems they have in California. And based off of the market, based off of what we're going to see next is going to choose how we react to what's on that inspection report. Because I think it's this, when a buyer backs out of a contract and then goes into a contract on another house that has those same problems and more, that is the worst situation. Where we go, I don't like what's in this inspection report. This isn't perfectly clean. And it's like, well, it can't be. It won't be. It's $325,000. That is not how that works. If it were a perfectly clean inspection report, this house would be $400,000. I think understanding that from the buyer's perspective is really important, but exactly what you want to do with this inspection report is to understand exactly what each thing in this house is, how much it's going to cost to fix, and see how much of it was priced into the price, or also how much of it can you take on yourself. Give me a couple of the examples of things that you will see and how you negotiate them and what makes the most sense.
So a big thing that we run into in GFCI outlets is they need to be within 2 feet of water or on exterior. And a lot of people freak out about, hey, I need these GFCI outlets. And it's like, it's not all that expensive to get taken care of. A GFCI outlet's $30, $35. If you do a quick YouTube, you could probably replace most of them yourself. So that is one thing we see a lot of. Generally, sellers are fairly understanding of that and will understand, yes, this is a safety thing, or it could be a financing thing. Then they will take those situations on. Other things that we run into that's like, hey, I have torn screen. Is that a giant deal? I mean, again, what's your price range? What's your situation? Are we going to run into this 5 houses down if you're going to back out, if this inspection scares you that you want to go down to the next one? So we're probably going to see that again because we're looking at similar houses and similar situations. So a torn screen, things like that probably shouldn't be a big thing. I have my buyers look for health and safety items. As long as we didn't see those health and safety items also during the showing to understand of, hey, this is going to come up on the inspection. Either let's negotiate it now or sure, we can negotiate it afterwards, but that's always harder to do and it's not a guarantee.
I think one of the things also to realize is like, hey, what if we have really old mechanicals? Is that a red flag? And it's like, nothing is necessarily a red flag. It's more so like, hey, this is understanding. A foundation wall that's crumbling and pushing in, sure, giant red flag. But if we understand exactly how much it costs to replace it and fix it, depending on if that's priced into the price of the house, can still be a house that you can buy. But I think when it comes to mechanicals specifically, we run into this all the time when it comes to the buyer goes, hey, we want the seller to replace the furnace. That is a tough thing to ask a seller because the seller is going, this furnace works. It's not a broken furnace. We've never had an issue with it in 20 years. Why are we upgrading this furnace? And I think that's the biggest thing for a buyer to understand in this inspection time period is understand it's really hard to ask for upgrades. It's okay to ask for things to solve problems that we have. The problems is uncovered, but in reality, a furnace that is working just fine isn't necessarily a problem. Can you get a seller to spend $8,000 to update it for you?
I never have.
Right? In certain price ranges, maybe you can, and maybe that works, but in reality, it's really tough to push that way. So I think understand that from the buyer's perspective is like, what's the difference between an upgrade and fixing a problem? And also understanding which of these things can we take on our own and which of these things can we not? Let's have them do it. Understanding those things are to be critically important when it comes to, should we walk away from this house? Is this a bad inspection report or an okay inspection report or a good inspection report? One of the best things you can do is the best thing to ask your inspector is, hey, compared to other houses you've done inspections on that are similar to this, is this worse than those houses or better than those houses? This inspector goes, hey, this is odd that I have this many things on a new build house, that's 3 years old. That's a house you run from. Take their advice. They're the expert.
If you're thinking of making a move in 2026, click the link below to check out our 2026 Twin Cities Buy Smart, Sell Smart guide to help you make the best decision in moving forward.